has went viral over a photo that has been displayed with her and Sandy Brondello. Yes, of the New York Liberty. There is a photo that is floating around, which we're about to pick up, and many people is insinuating that Caitlin Clark could be trying to plan the outs of Indiana.
Hold up, basketball world. Is Stephanie White finally losing her mind? Because while she's been trying to cram the literal queen of basketball, Caitlin Clark, into a rigid system, basically forcing a diamond into a cardboard box, other teams have been watching, waiting, and now they're ready to snatch her up and give her the respect she deserves. Leading the charge, the New York Liberty, who just dropped a post-game recruitment bombshell that has everyone buzzing.
There is a WNBA team that have been very, very, very much in, like, they made it clear that they want Caitlin Clark, or they're eventually going to want Caitlin Clark. Along those lines, they made it very, very clear.
Picture this, Caitlin Clark fresh off yet another injury. You know, the kind Stephanie White conveniently ignores. Sitting in the Barclays Center tunnel, the Fever just got absolutely clobbered 98-77 by the Liberty. But is Clark sulking? Nope. She's all smiles, practically glowing, chatting it up with Liberty coach Sandy Brondello, superstar Breanna Stewart, and Sabrina Ionescu like they're masterminding the biggest WNBA heist in history. And just to confirm, this wasn't some casual coffee break. Her agent, Erin Kane, was right there. Folks, when the agent shows up to a friendly post-game chat, you know it's not about the weather.
Well, we're going to talk about this little scene that took place after the Fever game last night in New York between Sandy Brondello and Caitlin Clark, the New York Liberty, and the agent. The agent. That is what...
Now, what makes this whole scene absolutely spicy? This wasn't just some friendly post-game chit-chat between colleagues. This was Recruitment 101, executed by the Liberty's absolute A-team. We're talking Breanna Stewart, who's basically part of the New York skyline at this point, Sabrina Ionescu, locked into the Big Apple for life, and Coach Sandy Brondello herself, the one coach who actually knows how to unlock generational talent instead of trying to cram it into a tiny preordained box.
And today, we have just seen the New York Liberty players, after the game, meeting up with Caitlin Clark. It is Stewie. It is Sabrina Ionescu. There is Sandy Brondello. And by the way, Stewie is not leaving New York the rest of her career. That is one thing that I will be 99% sure of. The Stewie is not leaving. New York. Sabrina is not going to leave New York. I think there is a 50-50 chance Caitlin Clark leaves Indiana after her rookie season.
Meanwhile, you just know Stephanie White was somewhere in the background, probably having full-blown panic attacks, reliving every questionable decision she's made this season. Decisions like, oh, I don't know, playing Natasha Howard more minutes than Caitlin Clark in the first half of games. Let that sink in for a second.
You know, one thing I like about the New York Liberty, they got a little run and gun in their offense. When I watched them the other day against the Aces, and Sandy does a wonderful job making that ball go. And it's fast-paced. They shoot threes. They allow Sabrina be Sabrina. She can shoot her threes. They're a very well-balanced team. They got a little inside, but they also got some outside too. And I can see why they won the championship. And I just hope that when Caitlin Clark feels and sees that, she goes, that's a good idea.
Or how about putting Clark on minutes restrictions that Clark herself openly called silly and refused to accept? Or perhaps it was watching her literal franchise player get injured for the 4th time this season. All while Stephanie White pretends the brutal physicality Clark faces has absolutely nothing to do with her constantly being sidelined. Yeah, sure, totally unrelated.
Yeah, by the way, Caitlin Clark looks unbelievably happy talking to these folks. But this is how it starts in sports. This is how it starts in the NFL. This is how it starts in the NBA. When you start seeing the wheels in motion, there's signs. there are signs before eventually a player gets traded, a player eventually marks their next destination. The Indiana Fever, you're on notice. You're on notice. You better recognize what you've got going on, the asset in front of you, and you do whatever you have to do to correct what is happening.
Stephanie White has spent this entire season on a crusade, trying to prove that no single player, not even Caitlin Clark, should be bigger than the system. She's been singing that same tired song about balance and team basketball, while her superstar gets absolutely brutalized on the court. The Fever, meanwhile, are just floundering, unable to find any identity beyond, hey, we have Caitlin Clark, but honestly, we have no idea what to do with her. It's like owning a Ferrari and meticulously insisting on driving it like a beat-up Honda Civic because heaven forbid you might show off its true power.
I think the obvious issue is Stephanie White is so stubborn to fit a circle in a square peg instead of utilizing the strengths of the team. And she probably felt relief because Caitlin Clark was hurt that, oh, this is my time. I could introduce the culture and the system. And some actually bought in. And then when Caitlin Clark comes back, she doesn't know how to use her. That's not coaching to me. That's like...
But here's where this whole saga gets absolutely delicious. The Liberty aren't just any team trying to poach Clark. They're the reigning WNBA champions who actually understand how to build around superstars. They get pace, they get spacing, and they know how to let elite players do what they do best. Under Brondello's brilliant coaching, they've crafted an offensive system that's all about fluid ball movement, while still letting individual brilliance explode. They're first in the league in net rating, first in offensive rating, and they know how to push the pace and create the exact environment where a player like Clark would utterly thrive. Now, contrast that with Indiana, where White has Clark playing a system that's the complete polar opposite of what made her a legend at Iowa. At Iowa, Clark was the system. She pulled up from the logo, created her own shots, orchestrated the entire offense. In Indiana, she's stuck playing slow half-court basketball, told to limit her attempts, and forced into a rigid structure that stifles literally everything that makes her special.
Team lost the damn game, but Caitlin is all smiles. She's all smiles. She's all smiles. So many people is insinuating. They're insinuating that Caitlin Clark could be trying to get the hell out of Indy. Now, I ain't gonna hold you. Your boy John Liquidator definitely want her to get out of Indy, bro.
And the numbers? Oh, the numbers don't lie. Clark's averaging 16.5 points, 8.8 assists, and 5 rebounds. Solid, right? But she's shooting a abysmal 29% from three-point range. For a player who built her entire legend, launching absolute bombs from 26, 27, even 30 feet out, being stuck in a system that actively minimizes her range is borderline criminal. Not to mention, she's missed 11 games this season due to various injuries, after never missing a single game in her college career or her rookie season. This is exactly where Sandy Brondello swoops in like a knight in shining armor. This is a coach who has won championships, coached absolute legends, and truly understands how to build systems around elite talent, not try to suffocate it. She's coached Diana Taurasi, she's worked with Brianna Stewart, she knows exactly what it takes to let generational players actually be generational. When Brondello talks about Clark, you hear genuine admiration and respect, not that thinly veiled frustration that leaks out of every single Stephanie White press conference.
She's just a great player. Honestly, point blank and simple. She's a great player. She is a great player. People enjoy watching her play. All right? People enjoy it. I don't know why you guys hate her so much. I don't have no idea why you guys hate her so much. She's, because of Caitlin Clark, is been a lot more attention drawn to the WNBA now. You guys should be thanking Caitlin Clark.
She's a great player, Brondello said about Clark, plain and simple, and you can practically hear the mic drop compared to White's constant grating emphasis on team basketball and no one player being bigger than the system. Brondello gets it. She understands that when you have a player like Clark, you don't try to contain her, you build around her and let her elevate everyone else. The Liberty, my friends, have the perfect storm brewing for Clark's eventual arrival. They've got Stewart and Ionescu locked up long-term, both reportedly willing to take hometown discounts to bring in the biggest name in basketball. They've got a brand new facility on the horizon, a championship pedigree, and most importantly, a coach who won't try to twist Clark into something she's fundamentally not.
Yeah, you never want to see a player get injured, and you know, a player like Caitlin and coming back, had a few injuries this year. She's a great player. You know, we've been good for our crowd this year, but hopefully they get to see her after most of the stuff, get to play again. As for the All-Star, you know, I'm excited to get to know her a little bit. I think that's the part of the All-Star. It's going to coach players that you haven't coached before and get them to know them a little bit and enjoy the whole celebration.
But let's dive into what's really got Stephanie White sweating bullets. The timing. Clark's rookie contract runs until 2026. But here's the kicker. The WNBA's collective bargaining agreement is up for renegotiation. There's serious buzz about eliminating or at least slashing those restrictive rookie contract rules. Think about it. That means Clark could suddenly have massive leverage to demand a trade or just walk away when her contract's up. And after witnessing how other teams treat their superstars versus how she's being managed in Indiana, why on earth would she even consider staying? Look at the stark, brutal contrast. Liberty players are posting glamorous team bonding trips to Napa Valley. Their team just shelled out $5 million for charter flights to give them better travel. Meanwhile, the Fever can't even keep their franchise player healthy, let alone craft an offensive system that actually uses her talents. That recruitment scene in the tunnel, that wasn't subtle. When you've got Stewart, Ionescu, and Brondello all circled around Clark with her agent right there, that's not a coincidence. That's a meticulously coordinated effort to paint a vivid picture of what life could be like in New York. They're selling her on playing for a franchise that actually respects superstars in a city that embraces greatness, with a coach who knows how to unleash transcendent talent.
That, with all the restricted free agency and everything, I think they're going to try to get rid of all coring out of the CBA. I don't think coring is going to be a thing. I don't think coring is going to be a thing in the CBA. And obviously, look, you're going to have to core players, and they're going to have to core Aaliyah a year earlier than Caitlin. And if they're scared Aaliyah's going to leave, and if they're like, oh, we want to core and trade Caitlin, then Aaliyah leaves for nothing, and Caitlin leaves for nothing. It's a bit of a weird one. It's a weird situation. But you can see, and this is one of the more important things. You see this right here? You see this right here? This is Caitlin's agent.
And let's be brutally honest about what the Liberty offers that Indiana simply can't. They've got the best record in the league, they play in New York City, and they already boast a rabid fan base that was showing up long before Clark even dreamed of the WNBA. They don't need Clark to save their franchise. They want her to complete a dynasty. There's a massive, crucial difference between being someone's savior and being the final exquisite piece of a championship puzzle. And White's panic, it's bleeding into her public comments. She's become increasingly defensive about her coaching decisions, more aggressive with officials, and shockingly insistent that her system is working, even as mountains of evidence pile up proving otherwise. She's getting fined for criticizing referees, she's mysteriously absent from games for personal reasons, and she's left watching her franchise player get openly recruited by championship teams. All while she's stuck trying to justify why a generational talent should be warming the bench for 20 minutes a game.
Look, Sandy Bordello got her hand all on Caitlin, bro. Hey. This is looking real spooky. Said it. New York is the perfect fit for it. New York is the best landing spot for Caitlin right now.
Here's the brutal truth. Clark doesn't need Indiana anywhere near as much as Indiana needs Clark. She's already proven she can fill arenas from coast to coast. She's the biggest draw in women's basketball, period, and she has options. The Liberty have already shown they can win championships and sell out stadiums without her, but they also know that adding her to their already stacked roster would unlock something truly special. Meanwhile, White is coaching like she's absolutely terrified of letting Clark be great. She's so consumed with maintaining maintaining balance that she's forgotten the entire point of the game is to win. She's so obsessed with proving no single player is bigger than the system that she's utterly failing to build a system that maximizes the very abilities of her best player. That Liberty meeting with Clark and her agent, that wasn't just about basketball, that was about respect. It was about showing her exactly what it looks like to be truly valued, to be built around, to be given the freedom to be the player she was born to be. And you can bet that conversation included explicit discussions about pace, spacing, and precisely how she'd seamlessly fit into an offense already overflowing with elite shooters and playmakers who understand how to complement, not compete with, transcendent talent.
If Stephanie White believes that this team is better with Ari McDonald in, blah, 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 if she shares the same views as Carolyn Peck, you fire her on the spot. I don't care if she is an Indiana Fever alum. You fire her on the spot. And anybody else in the organization that shares that same belief set. I mean, these Stephanie White truthers, no surprise, she checks boxes, and they're the old WNBA fandom that thinks Stephanie White's getting a raw deal right now. It's so obvious she don't know what she's doing. She don't know what she's doing with this kind of talent.
This, my friends, is Stephanie White's absolute wake-up call. She can keep trying to force Clark into her rigid vision of team basketball, or she can finally adapt her system to maximize the greatest talent in the game. She can keep letting other teams openly court her franchise player, or she can start treating Clark like the queen she unequivocally is. Because right now, the Liberty are offering Clark everything she's not getting in Indiana: respect, freedom, and a legitimate, undeniable chance to win championships. The clock is ticking, and White's panic is completely justified, because if she doesn't figure out how to unleash Clark's full potential soon, she might just find herself watching that potential get absolutely unleashed in a Liberty uniform. And when that happens, when Clark is dropping 30 and 12 in Madison Square Garden, leading New York to championships, Stephanie White will have no one to blame but herself. The recruitment has officially begun, the agent is involved, and the writing is not just on the wall, it's screaming at her in neon lights. Stephanie White better start panicking, because the New York Liberty just showed Caitlin Clark what true basketball royalty looks like. And once you've seen the palace, trust me, it's damn hard to go back to the cottage.